Ein sonniger Tag heute hier in Berlin vor dem Bundestag. Ich bin Irene Juliet Arzadon und möchte diese Gelegenheit nutzen, um ein paar Worte mit euch zu teilen. An alle Menschen da draußen. In dieser Zeit lasst uns nicht vergessen, den Menschen zu danken, die ihr Leben für uns opfern. Sei es die Menschen, die im Krankenhaus arbeiten, in den Altenheimen sowie in den Arztpraxen, aber auch an die Menschen, die im Lebensmittelhandel sich befinden. Die Kassierer. Manchmal reicht es aus, um ihnen ein freundliches Lächeln zu geben. Denn die Menschen, die heute am Arbeiten sind, weil sie nicht so wie einige von uns zu Hause bleiben können, die sollten wir wertschätzen. Ihnen sollten wir unseren Dank ausrichten. Darum lasst uns noch mehr zusammenhalten, sie wertschätzen.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. You are watching the EBC International coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Frendel Faharin, coming to you from Seattle, Washington. Tonight, we'll hear from several of the correspondents across North America. In Vancouver, business owners board up shopping fronts due to an increase in commercial property crimes amid the COVID-19 crisis. Eagle News correspondent Jay Suarez is standing by. Canadian farmers are still allowed to hire foreign help despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Thomas Likeness reports in Edmonton, Canada. In Hawaii, COVID-19 patients who have recovered have been released from isolation. And if you're still paying or receiving your salary, we'll hear more from Alfred Asenas in Honolulu. In the nation's capital, DC officials closed the Warfish Market. Maryland governor enacts emergency orders for nursing homes, and Virginia opens its doors to the homeless. May Bondoc Ramos in Washington, D.C. New Jersey is ordering refrigerated trailers to use as temporary morgues amid the rise of COVID-19 cases. COVID-related deaths. May Ann Guerson reports in Sicklerville. Los Angeles County increases the number of COVID-19 testing sites, opening up drive-up mobile sites. In Santa Maria, California, we have Gavin Lee Johnson. The California Department of Education held a distance learning innovations for special education webinar. Eagle News correspondent Macy Membrera with the details. Plus, a live interview with the frontline health worker in Newnan, Georgia, sharing challenges they face and their appeal to both government and the general public. And today's recipe, garlic knots. First, an overview of how the world looks now. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University and Medicine, as of 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 1,200,000. This includes more than 325,000 in the US and more than 14,000 in Canada. Sadly, the virus has claimed more than 68,000 lives. On a bright side, 4 times as many people have recovered, that nearly 258,000 people are recovering from the infection. Our coverage begins tonight. In Vancouver, business owners board up shopping fronts due to an increase in commercial property crimes and the COVID-19 crisis. We have Jay Suarez with us. Hi, Jay.
Hey, Frendel. How's everyone doing? So with with my report right now from Vancouver, we just want to give you some stats in British Columbia. So right now, 1,203 people have been confirmed to have the COVID-19 virus here in British Columbia. 38 people have died from it, and 704 people have recovered as of this weekend. So basically, some of the businesses here are boarding up their storefronts because there have been increase or a spike in commercial property crime in downtown Vancouver, mainly with people breaking in and stealing things from various businesses in Vancouver. So according to Vancouver Police, the chief from Vancouver Police, Adam Palmer, he says that it appears that thieves are attempting to take advantage of commercial spaces that are closed due to social distancing measures here in Vancouver. So what Vancouver Police is doing right now is they're deploying more police patrols and increasing their presence along the hotspot areas in Vancouver so that they can try to combat property crime and also try to make sure that the social distancing procedures are in place here in Vancouver. So from Vancouver, Jay Suarez, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Frendel.
Thank you so much, Jay, for that report. It's actually pretty alarming for me because the last time I visited Vancouver is just so beautiful. Everyone's so friendly. But to know that the crime has heightened, that's remarkable, Jay. Thank you so much for that. Now, how's the scene like there in Vancouver, aside from the crime?
Yeah, I was just driving around Vancouver the other day, and it's pretty dead. There's not a lot of people outside, which goes to show that people here are observing the social distancing and having people stay at home so that we can try to contain this disease. So it's good that majority of the people here in Vancouver are doing their part to try to flatten the curve.
Awesome. Yes, it's always great to know that, you know, the stay home campaign is being observed in Canada and Vancouver as well. Thank you so much, Jay, for that report. Canadian farmers are still allowed to hire foreign help despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Eagle News correspondent Thomas Likeness in Edmonton, Canada, with the story.
Good
Thomas?
evening, Frendel. Hope all is well with you in Seattle there. I want to talk about a couple of things tonight. As you mentioned, migrant farm workers. We've also got that ongoing debate about masks. Just a whole lot of stuff to try and shoehorn in here in the next couple of minutes. But first, a quick look at the numbers in Canada. Total cases now at about 15,500. They grow at about a rate of 1,000 cases a day. The infection has claimed 280 lives. In my province of Alberta, last 24 hours, 69 new cases, total of 1,250. We've had 23 deaths. On the bright side, though, 279 people have recovered. Now, this morning, Prime Minister Trudeau was asked about temporary foreign workers who work on Canadian farms. It's springtime. This is where farmers in southern British Columbia and southern Ontario begin to plant fruit and vegetable crops. And as background, we have about 60,000 migrant farm workers come to the country every year. Trudeau says arrangements are being made to allow them in. Let's have a listen to his reply here.
Understand that our agricultural producers of farmers right across the country rely very much, as well as fish processors in the fisheries industry, rely on temporary foreign workers to make sure that we can feed our country. That has been the way for many, many years, and we are, of course, looking to ensure that we're able to receive temporary foreign workers, that they will be properly quarantined for 2 weeks before they start doing the work that is so necessary for us all.
And we'll have more on that over the next week or so. Do you wear a medical mask for protection? Well, that's the ongoing debate. Just how effective are they? Just who is protective? That question was posed to our Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Dina Hinshaw, and she answered this way.
What I would say is that we know that masks can limit the spread of infection from a person who is infected to others. We also know, as I've said before, that a small proportion of people who have COVID may spread the virus before they have symptoms. And so it is certainly something that, again, in general, wearing a mask would be more protective for those who are wearing it. It would protect others from those who are wearing the mask rather than protecting the person wearing it.
So, okay, if I wear a cloth mask, what should I be aware of? Again, Dr. Hinshaw.
And so we know from some studies that when cloth masks get damp, so if someone wears them for a long period of time, they actually can start to trap virus and they could be a risk for the person wearing them. And so that's why I've asked our team to look very deeply at all available evidence, because what I wouldn't want to have happen is for people to start wearing cloth masks and inadvertently, therefore, expose themselves to more risk, when what we want to do is lower the risk more broadly.
Okay, now, Hinshaw says anyone who does wear a cloth mask, you got to practice some extra hygiene here. You wash your hands before you put the mask on. When you take it off, you wash your hands again. And then after you put that mask where it can be washed, you wash your hands a third time. So be aware of the hygiene there. Well, what's coming up next week in Canada? Hopefully the Prime Minister will have some projections from experts on just how long this crisis might go on. He's hinted he might have some numbers for us. Up until now, he's been reluctant to release that data. Here in Alberta, our top doctor, Dr. Hinshaw, says she should have all of her data compiled, and that will give us an idea of what lies ahead in Alberta. For all of you, we hope good health lies ahead. Take care of others, take care of yourselves. And remember, those who are taking risks for us, so take care of them by staying home. Stay safe and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for that report. And I'm so glad that, wearing cloth masks was part of your update today, because we're being advised, to at least put something over our faces, as a layer of protection. But if it's going to advertently do us more harm, we got to rethink that. So thank you so much for that. A question for you, Tom.
Sure.
How urgent do we need these temporary workers?
Well, again, those harvests are going to be coming about in May. Crops like asparagus and so on, and basically farmers need the help to get those crops onto grocery shelves. If we don't get them soon, there could be shortages. Some farmers have hinted they'll just plant less this year because they simply don't have the labor. So it's imperative that the government get on with it. Now, the Prime Minister did suggest, well, this is an opportunity for people who have lost their jobs or for students looking for summer work. That might help out somewhat, but again, farm work is kind of specialized too. I'm a city kid. I don't think I'd be much use on a farm. So although on paper it might look good, that might not be the answer either.
Thank you so much, Thomas. We look forward to your updates in the weeks to come.
Thank you, Frendel.
In Hawaii, you're very welcome. In Hawaii, COVID-19 patients who have recovered have been released from isolation. And if you're still getting paid and you're still on the payroll, you have to listen to this. We have Alfred Asenas in Honolulu with more. Hi, Alfred.
Aloha, Frendel. How are you doing? Just so you know, Hawaii is still here for the visit, whenever things go clear, just so you know. Here we go with the latest statistics. And I think I might have shared a map. It's in blue, but I'll just proceed with the numbers. There are 371 confirmed cases statewide, a vast majority of which are on the island of Oahu, where I'm located. So that's a jump of 351 from yesterday. Sadly, 4 deaths have been confirmed. The latest was yesterday, and the majority, if not all of them, involve are elderly folks with pre-existing conditions. And I want to show you that map real quick of the state, and those 4 sets represent the counties, and the one on the upper right is the island of Oahu, which has the bulk of the cases as well as the population. The ones that are shaded reddish or the darkest in color are the concentrations. If I'm reading it correctly, it's between 21 to 30 cases. Now, let's just be clear here. This is not where the cases are confirmed. These are where the patients reside. So you're looking at that red strip there that goes up and down. Those are the areas that cover Diamond Head, not far from Waikiki, all the way up to the eastern towns of Kaneohe and Kailua on the northern tip. The other shaded, dark shaded little blip there out to the west, if I'm not mistaken, is Eva Beach. So, you know, we thank the State Department of Health for giving us some more definitive data as to where the cases are located, or where the patients are located. So we also are tracking recoveries, like you said, Frendel, and you know, good news stories, large or small, are good news stories. We want to make sure, we want to assure the public that, you know, help is still on the way, and 85 have recovered statewide, up from 78 yesterday. I think we also have some just snapshots of what the streets are like out here on Oahu. I just came from a big box store, and you know, some of these stores may be open, but they're very serious about curbside pickup and maintaining social distancing. In fact, I had to stop by, order something online, and had to go to the parking lot and wait for my turn for my stuff to be delivered to me instead of going inside the store. And also, I took a shot of the freeway. I think it was Thursday or Friday, about 5 in the afternoon. Now, here's some shots of Waikiki, and you have these city workers who diligently spray the buttons of the pedestrian crosswalks. And here's the freeway about 5 p.m. That's not typical, and it has that billboard that says, "Protect, don't infect, stay at home." So life is just you know, it's just different. Yes, it's quiet, but of course, livelihoods are severely impacted. And really, that's all I have. Oh, one more thing. You said something about getting paid. Well, there's a buzz here, especially this morning, from several stations, and even from my workplace. You know, if some of us are still getting paid, some of us are still in the payroll, and you have some of these creditors being more lenient than normal because a lot of jobs have been laid off or have been put on hold. If you're still capable, if you're still getting paid, pay your bills, okay? Do not procrastinate, because soon as we're all clear from this pandemic, you're going to have these banks, you're going to have these companies who's going to try to get things back to normal. We have to do our part financially if we still can, okay? And if we're not able to, then we get the help that we need so that we can, you know, get ourselves back on track. So let me repeat: if you can, pay your bills. I'm going to send us Eagle News. We live in interesting times, Frendel. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Alfred. And yes, I will pay, you know, I am paying my bills. So thank you so much for that report. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because here, at least here in Seattle, Washington, we're advised if you need any kind of financial assistance to go ahead and call their bank, and they'll work it out. There's so many options. So thank you so much for that. And question for you, you know, I was born in Hawaii, and it's been so many years since I've been back home. How's the tourism like nowadays?
Bottom line up front, it's been severely impacted because of this unique 14-day quarantine for all out-of-state and even inter-island travelers. Just to give you some numbers as to, you know, the arrivals. So the Hawaii Tourism Authority reported 683 people arrived to the islands yesterday. Now, compare around this time last year, the average arrivals amounts to 30,000 plus. So that tells you right there, again, the tourism industry is taking a hard hit, but it's necessary to really control the spread, if you will.
Thank you so much for that. You know, that 600 plus people, they're taking advantage of those good deals. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, Alfred, we look forward to more updates in the days to come. Now, in the DMV region, DC officials closed the Warfish Market. Maryland governor enacts emergency orders for nursing homes. and Virginia opens its doors to the homeless. May Bondoc Ramos reports in Washington, D.C. Hi, May. How are ya?
Hi, Frenzel. We're doing good here in Maryland. How are you there?
Doing fantastic, May. Thank you. I look forward to your report. What do you have for us?
So here in DMV area, or the Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, the total number of coronavirus cases is increasing by the thousands, with more than 7,000 positive cases. Maryland has the most number in the DMV area, having 3,609 confirmed cases with 67 deaths, including a number of people in the devastating nursing home in Carroll County. Virginia is now at 2,637 cases with 52 deaths, and Washington, D.C. with 998 positive cases. 42 of them are D.C.'s first responders. D.C. has also recorded 22 deaths. Now for updates. Today in Maryland, Governor Hogan issued an emergency order to authorize actions for nursing homes. The governor stated today, as I quote, "Of major concern is that we currently have cases or clusters of cases at 81 nursing homes and long-term care facilities across the state. Our highest priority is keeping Marylanders safe, and we will use every tool at our disposal to protect the most vulnerable among us," unquote. This order requires that nursing home facilities provide protective personal equipment for staff and that testing of symptomatic residents through a Maryland state lab be expedited. As we've seen in Washington state and nursing homes across the nation, it is of utmost importance that we follow and uphold the directives and orders to protect our nursing homes and their staff. Anyone who violates this order can be found guilty of misdemeanor and upon conviction be subjected to imprisonment and or a fine not exceeding $5,000. Also today, the governor proclaimed a moment of prayer and reflection. The proclamation states, as I quote, "It is in the spirit of solidarity and reflection that on Sunday at noon, April 5, 2020, all Marylanders are asked to reflect in unity and prayer for the victims of the COVID-19 pandemic and for those risking their lives to care and provide for others." In addition, at 7 this evening, some communities in Maryland joined together in showing their support for the frontliners by having a round of applause from their windows and balconies. There was even a police cruiser that led the clapping by sounding its alarms. Here, next is in Virginia. This past weekend, Governor Northam announced in a press release that $2.5 million in emergency funding will be used to help the homeless population. Governor Northam stated, "I have issued a statewide stay-at-home order, but we know there are many Virginians with no home to stay in. With this funding, we will ensure people experiencing homelessness have access to immediate housing options and help prevent the spread of COVID-19, unquote. Homelessness has been a major issue in many cities, even before the outbreak of COVID-19. Hopefully, the other state and local leaders are also taking the necessary steps to protect and serve the homeless population during the COVID-19. As has been the catchphrase of many, we are all in this together. Lastly, for Washington, D.C., in a sign of defiance, or maybe just a lack of common sense, on Saturday, crowds gathered at the wharf in Southwest DC, and it was reported that many customers were standing online just inches from each other, clearly violating the 6-foot distancing rule, and they don't have masks. They're not wearing masks at all. Because of this, officials closed the various vendors at the wharf until at least April 24. You know, friends, we all want to go outside and enjoy delicious meals. Well, like here in the DC area, the jumbo lump crab. But as experts are saying, that since we are headed towards the peak of this pandemic, it is increasingly vital to stay at home and strictly follow social distancing protocols. As was mentioned earlier, we are all in this together. And in the future, we hope to once again enjoy the cherry blossoms and enjoy the cuisine at Hank's Oyster Bar. Well, you have to try it. And all that the DC War has. In interesting times. Back to you, Frenzel.
Thank you so much, May, for that intensive report and all that great information. And I love how you ended with food. Did you know that I was hungry? Because I'm hungry. But I love that the governor is leading on, telling the people to really pay respects to those lives that we have lost during this pandemic and to continue to remind their people to stay at home. Question for you. Why do you think the governor, or what prompted the governor to release this emergency order?
Well, as I've said earlier, 81 nursing homes are affected with the virus, and there is one nursing home in which 99 residents and staff tested positive and already have 10 deaths. So, as like what happened in your hometown in Washington State, we have to take care of our elderly, or the ones that are very vulnerable with underlying diseases. It's very easy for them to get it, and the government has to be vigilant about it. That's why the governor enacted this law for their protection.
Thank you so much, May. And again, like our other correspondents, we just can't wait to hear more of your updates in the coming days ahead. Now, moving towards New Jersey. New Jersey is ordering 20 refrigerated trailers to use as temporary morgues amid the rise of COVID-19 related deaths. We have May Ann Guerson reports in Sicklerville. Hi, May, how are you?
Hi, Brendel. I'm good, thank you. For today's report, coronavirus-related cases on the rise as New Jersey reports 3,000 new positive cases. New Jersey is showing no sign of slowing the spread of COVID-19 as it reported 3,482 new positive cases. Officials released the latest figures on the coronavirus outbreak on Sunday as the deaths and positive cases continue to rise. The number of New Jersey now has 917 coronavirus-related deaths and 37,505 cases. New Jersey, in relation to that, ordered 20 refrigerated trailers as temporary morgues. To address the surge in bodies resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, the state has ordered 20 refrigerated trailers that will act as temporary morgues, according to a report issued by the state. The 20 trailers will provide space for 1,600 bodies, and the 5 trailers will be delivered on Friday. Governor Murphy also announced that New Jersey is set to receive another 500 much-needed ventilators from the national stockpile for those in critical care. However, State Health Commissioner Judith Persichilli has said the state may need to add 6,000 more ventilators to handle the surge. The state's death toll is now more than the 704 New Jerseyans who died in the September 11 terrorist attacks. Meanwhile, on a lighter note, Garden Center and Landscaper partnered to beautify Newton Medical Center. Cooper's Landscape and Design works to install hundreds of flowers and plants in front of the emergency department of the hospital. Cooper has teamed up with CNC growers to donate 500 flowers and plants in variety of colors in an effort to lift the spirits of the frontliners and patients alike during this time of pandemic. We like being able to give back to the community. The ability to cheer up people and brighten their spirits bring a sense of hope and renewal, said Capiras. Another small but meaningful gesture in this time of pandemic, Frendel, in Camden County, firefighters And police officers cheer up the neighborhood as they drive around greeting and waving at everyone, even with a mascot on top of the fire truck. This gesture truly put a smile on the face and brightened up the spirits of the entire neighborhood, even just for a short time. In Sicklerville, New Jersey, May and Manzano Garzon, we live in interesting times.
Thank you so much, May. You know, it's just so heartwarming to hear these stories of everyone just coming together, uniting to show our appreciation and love to our frontliners. That's amazing. Now, May, I have a question for you too. Now, with the increase of COVID-19 cases in New Jersey, what kind of steps is the state taking in terms of testing sites?
Yes, Brenda, in terms of testing facilities, New Jersey actually has 16 testing centers across the state. And if you wish to be tested, you can just go to the website. It's covid19.nj.gov. You have to fill out a self-assessment questionnaire. And you also have to make sure the hours of operation, because they differ. The 16 centers differ in hours of operation. And we have to take note that these are drive-through, and they really limit it to those who are symptomatic and those who will pass the assessment. And of course, before we go there, please bring a valid ID and make an appointment first. And again, you must meet the criteria and you must be symptomatic, because they only prioritize these people who are really showing the signs. Brendel.
I appreciate that. We appreciate that so much, May. Thank you so much. Now, in Los Angeles County, increases of the number of COVID-19 testing sites, opening up drive-up mobile sites in specified areas of East Los Angeles, Santa Clarita, and the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Hospital. In Santa Maria, California, we have Gavin Lee Johnson. Hi, Gavin.
Hi, Frendel, and thank you. So as recently updated by the Los Angeles Public Health Department, there are currently a total of 5,277 confirmed COVID-19 cases and sadly 117 deaths. Now, unfortunately, we're still seeing a steady increase in numbers in the state of California, with 14,036 positive COVID-19 cases, totaling out to 325 deaths. Now, currently, Los Angeles County are also increasing their testing sites, as they just announced this afternoon. The opening of drive-up mobile sites at specified sites at East Los Angeles, Santa Clarita, and the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Hospital. Now, here in Santa Barbara County, there is now a total of 168 confirmed cases of COVID-19, as announced by the county health officials. Many who had tested positive are quarantined in their homes, while 26 residents are recovering in the hospitals. Unfortunately, this week, though, in Santa Barbara County had its first coronavirus-related death at the Marion Regional Medical Center here in Santa Maria, California. The deceased was in the 60s age range and had underlying health conditions. Now, the city of Santa Maria has an estimated demographic of around 107,000 people and is the largest and most populated city in the county of Santa Barbara. Santa Maria is known for its beautiful sceneries of grassy regions, farmlands, as well as its notable style of barbecue. If you're ever in the area, you should check it out. Now, like most other cities throughout Los Angeles County and the state of California, Santa Maria residents continue to live day-to-day practicing hand washing and other precautionary measures against the virus. To prevent another tragic death from this virus, the city officials continue to remind their residents of 6 feet social distancing, as large digital signs have been put up with this message, social distancing, on certain highway roads. They have also decided to take action to better enforce the social distancing rule. While parks across town will remain open, basketball backboards have been taken down, new signs have been put up in different fields to discourage big groups from using them and instead encouraging individual activities or other activities such as tennis, pickleball, biking, anything else that could encourage people to stay 6 feet apart. Violation of the posted regulations could lead to a citation. And the Santa Maria Town Center Mall has also been closed, but residents are encouraged to shop online, have food delivered, or order takeout to support the local businesses. In fact, a local Facebook group has been created in order to update the community on which of the restaurants in the area are doing takeout or curbside pickup. In Santa Maria, California, Gavin Lee Johnson, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you again, Gavin. And you know, I like that you mentioned that the community has a Facebook group open just to keep everyone up to date. Now, what was the last restaurant you went to for takeout?
That's a good question. I want to say the last place I went to was Olive Garden because they're doing a buy one take one, $12.99 on 2 appetizers and soup and breadsticks.
Awesome. And you know what's funny? I had Olive Garden the other day. That was our last takeout. But I appreciate you also going over the different testing sites. Now, we heard the process in New Jersey. What's the process like there in California, in your area?
Well, similarly, first off, it's available to appointments only. To make an appointment, you would have to go online to the website coronavirus.lacity.org and then proceed to answer a couple of basic questions, including the symptoms you're feeling. Based on the answers that they're provided, the person will be deemed eligible or not within a few minutes. If they're eligible, they'll be given the choice to pick different testing sites they want to go to and the available appointment times. Once the patient arrives to the said site, they'll remain in their cars and be given instructions. The test is definitely self-administered. The patient will swab their mouths and throats or nasal passages depending on the sites. Some of the sites might conduct both or just one or the other.
Good to know. Thank you, Gavin. Now, the California Department of Education held a Distance Learning Innovations for Special Education webinar. Eagle News correspondent Macy Membrera with the details.
Thank you. This past week, the California Department of Education held a Distance Learning Innovations for Special Education webinar. Different education professionals across California shared how their respective schools or school districts have been meeting the needs of students with special education services during this time of distance learning while a stay-at-home order is still in effect to curb the spread of COVID-19. Now, I myself am a special education teacher, so I had the opportunity to attend this informative webinar and was able to note down some key details from the speakers. A few of the speakers consisted of Tony Thurmond, our State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Kristen Wright, the Special Education Division Director, as well as other professionals from different districts within California. Now, some notable topics that were addressed were how to meet the needs of students as well as families, particularly those requiring mental health support. Also, some school districts have been completing a family support plan to understand what families are expecting to get from this time during distance learning. Now, as a special education teacher, one of the biggest challenges for special education overall is that many services and meetings are typically very involved interactions and are done face-to-face with students and parents. So the topics of how would individualized services be provided to students who receive one-on-one instruction or who receive speech and language therapy or occupational therapy be provided through this distance learning was an important thing to note. Also, how would individualized education program meetings that are usually done with the parents be conducted was another important topic. Overall, a consistent message that was presented by all the speakers was how communication and collaboration between general education teachers, special education teachers, and other supporting services are key during this time. And so I'll end with this message from the California State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurmond, who stated that we should consider today a beginning, a first of many conversations that we have together about how we deliver special education through distance learning. We have much work to do, but we can do it together. We are facing a challenge we have never seen before, but as it relates to educating our students, we must rise to that challenge and do more together for all of our students. In Sacramento, California, Macy Membrera, Eagle News, We live in interesting times.
Coming up, a one-on-one interview with the frontline health worker in Newnan, Georgia, on why support from the government and the general public is crucial. The EBC International coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic will return in a moment. Stay with us. This is Eagle News.
Accurate and fair reporting. Not only from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, but also abroad. Detailed and timely stories relevant to people all over the world. Catch all of these at Net25, your reliable source of news, entertainment, and technology updates.
You're watching the EBC International coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, North America edition. I'm Frendel Heron, coming to you from Seattle, Washington. Joining Eagle News this evening is a registered nurse working in the medical surgical unit at a hospital in Newnan, Georgia. Interacting face-to-face with COVID-19 patients, she had to make sacrifices to protect her loved ones and makes a plea for help on behalf of all the frontline health workers in providing the support needed to survive the pandemic. Thank you so much for joining us, Ms. CJ Kalanje. How are ya?
Hi, Frendel. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. How are you doing this evening?
I'm really good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. I'm really enjoying the show right now, and I love that you made time to join us, because it's always a great blessing to see through the lens of our frontline healthcare providers. Now, how tough is it working in your unit right now?
So the challenge right now is just to keep up with the ever-increasing changes that we've had in our hospital in regards to like protocols and procedures that we need to follow. Ever since we had our first positive COVID-19 patient a few weeks ago, we've only had, an increase in the number of cases that we've been seeing. And right now I work in a medical surgical floor that specializes in orthopedics as well. So since all of the elective surgeries have been canceled for the time being, we're making space for all of the other patients that need to be in the hospital but don't have COVID-19. So our floor is making space for all those other patients. And we do have designated floors in our ICU and also on the 6th floor in another medical surgical unit that we're reserving for the COVID-19 patients, and also those who are awaiting their test results.
Awesome. And it's so great to know that everyone is trying to create as much space as possible for these COVID-19 patients. So in the interim, though, what is your role? I mean, do they make you float around? How's it like for your workload?
So it's difficult for the nurses right now because we don't really know if we're going to stay on our floor, if we're going to be deployed or float to the COVID-19 floors. But as for me right now, I've been lucky that I haven't needed to float yet because I'm training a new graduate nurse. And she's almost done with her orientation. She's awesome. And I feel like my time is going to come up that I'm going to be sent to float to the COVID-19 floors. But I'm really just, mentally, emotionally, physically preparing myself for this because, communication with my coworkers and with my manager is everything right now. They've been really great communicating what to expect, what's it going to be like. So my time is going to come up.
And it's good that you're preparing yourself mentally, physically, and I know spiritually as well. Now, you mentioned that you were training a new graduate. How has she been? I mean, being trained during this pandemic, it must be a little challenging and difficult for her.
Yeah, we check in with each other at the end of the shift every time we work together. And, I ask her how she's feeling, and I ask her how she's feeling, being a new nurse, and also, like, hey, by the way, there's a worldwide disease that's plaguing our lands right now. Good luck with that. Just imagining what she's feeling. But she says that, she's, those anxieties are kind of separated. There's the new nurse anxieties, and then there's like this pandemic anxiety. But, she's very good. She's very smart. She's really strong. She has a strong heart. And I have no doubt that she's going to persevere and, make it through this. And we're supportive of each other. So as much support as I'm offering to her right now, she also gives me the same support. So I'm really grateful for her.
That's awesome. And it's so touching to know that the support is reciprocated. Now CJ, we're just curious, what do you do exactly to prepare yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually? Give us some detail on what you do exactly.
So with the communication that I've received from my coworkers, when we are being floated down to the COVID-19 floors, they give us a face mask, a face shield, and we use that equipment. We have to conserve our resources, so we have to reuse that equipment and keep it in a bag. And so every time we float down there, we use that equipment. And it's a lot to take care of a COVID patient, especially in the ICU, if they're on a ventilator and they're on a bunch of IVs that need to be monitored. If the nurse goes in and if they need supplies or something, or medication or something, there's another nurse who's a spotter or a runner who can run to grab supplies that they need and bring it back to them. So, and one of the nurses that I've worked with, she's been a nurse for years. She floated down to the ICU, and she was actually being trained on the spot on what the ICU nurses do. So a lot of the public don't realize that as a nurse, you work in different areas that specialize in different things. So as a med-surg nurse going into ICU, that's additional specialized training that you need. So that's another thing that I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for, if in the case, I would have to learn on the fly and, do that additional training. I want to be ready for it. So that's another thing that I'm looking to right now.
Awesome. And, just looking at your pictures that is flashing before us, you could already tell, even with this interview, that you are a strong woman. And we're pretty confident that you'll be able to adapt very, very well and efficiently. Now, CJ, knowing that PPEs were low worldwide, how is this affecting your work?
So having a shortage of personal protective equipment, it really raises the anxiety of healthcare workers. You know, like what I said earlier, right now in our hospital, we are needing to conserve our resources and reuse our masks and shields. And I mean, I'm sure everybody pays attention to the news and also social media. You hear the cries and the pleas of my fellow healthcare workers around the nation, and they're not over exaggerating. They're speaking honestly from the heart and what they're experiencing and what they're seeing, especially in the places that are heavily hit with, a massive number of cases of COVID-19 that they're seeing. Like in New York, they're needing to resort to using garbage bags for protection. In other places, they're needing to use bandanas as masks. And that's not the adequate equipment that's needed. And, when that happens, it's not a matter of if they're going to be exposed and if they're going to be infected. It's a matter of when, because they're really not protected. And it's really terrifying and disheartening. And it makes me and other healthcare workers wonder, is that going to be our fate? Is that what we're going to face if we run out of PPE? So, right now, our federal government, they did, issue or sign an executive order to exercise the authority of the Defense Production Act. And I'm really hoping that we see the full extent of that because we really need it right now.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more, CJ. If you don't mind, share with us your sleeping and living situation right now.
Oh, so I'm not going home to my family right now. I used to live in a house with a multi-generational family. I used to live with my mom, my big brother, my sister-in-law, and their baby. And, since, all of this happened, I really don't want to go home and expose, my family to whatever I'm being exposed to at work. So luckily, I have a good friend. She's like an older sister to me. She graciously offered her extra room in her basement that's accessible through the garage, and it also has an extra bathroom. So at the end of the workday, and she works really close to my work too. She lives really close to my work too. So after I get home from work, I just go through the garage. I strip down and take off I close the garage door, I take off my clothes, put in the dirty clothes right away, and then I jump in the shower right away. So, that way I just expose myself to a minimum amount of people as possible. And I really miss my family, but they understand, and, we still keep in touch through FaceTime and everything. So thank God for technology.
Thank God for technology. You said it. And I was just going to ask you that, knowing, a person like you, very family oriented, and how it must be hard not being able to physically be affectionate to them. But again, thank God for FaceTime and technology. Now, CJ, I know that you have a special message that you would like to give the government and the public. What is that message?
So again, I would really like to see, everybody would really like to see the action that's being taken with the executive order for the Defense Production Act. I mean, actions speak louder than words. We heard it, that it's going to be put to use, but we really need some clarity on the full extent of how it's going to be utilized. And just recently here in the state of Georgia, Governor Kemp, he issued a shelter-in-place order effective this past Friday. So thank you for that. We really need that. Hopefully that'll slow down the spread of COVID-19. And thank you to everyone who understands the importance of staying home. And I just want everyone to stay safe out there, enjoy your time with your family. You're really blessed if you have a home. Enjoy your time with your family at home, enjoy self-care. If you really want to help the frontliners, help the healthcare workers, take care of yourselves, take care of your families. And, as much as I love y'all, I really don't want to see y'all at the hospital. So go ahead and just stay home, enjoy that time. And thank you so much for everyone's kindness You know, we've highlighted it earlier in this segment about people showing their kindness to healthcare workers. And I've actually been a recipient of kindness from the residents here in the city who show their love and support to our hospital. So I really want to say thank you, and I love you all.
Thank you so much, CJ. Love right back at you. And thank you to all the frontline healthcare and essential workers that are out there so we can stay safe. You go to work for us, and we will stay home for you. The EBC International coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, North America edition, will be right back. Stay with us.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Mga kababayan, naharap na naman po tayo sa mabigat na pagsubok na ito. Ito yung COVID-19.
I hope everyone's okay. I hope everyone's safe.
Nandito po kami para hikayatin pa po kayo na maging matibay.
Mas maging matatag po tayo and just stay positive po sa lahat po ng nangyayari ngayon.
Mga mahal kong kababayan, lampasan po natin, pagtagumpayan po natin ang pagsubok na ito.
Stay strong sa panahon po na to.
Huwag tayong mawawalan ng pag-asa.
At inihikayat din po namin kayo na sana makinig po tayo sa ating gobyerno.
Sumunod muna tayo sa gobyerno dahil yun yung pinakamainam na paraan para hindi na lumagana pa yung virus.
Let's all stay at home.
Spend time with our loved ones, with our families.
At higit po sa lahat, make sure to pray for everyone, pray for everything that is going on right now, especially our frontliners po who are sacrificing their lives to take care of everything.
Higit sa lahat, patuloy tayong lumapit, magtiwala at manalangin sa ating Panginoong Diyos.
Lagi tayong manalangin dahil yung po ang may pinaka-mainam na solusyon sa lahat po ng mga problema natin.
God bless you and your family. Please stay strong and keep our faith.
Tuloy po ang laban.
This is EBC International coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic here in North America. I'm Frenzell Faharin coming to you from Seattle, Washington. Here in EBC, in this time of stay-at-home mandates, we try our best to keep us all connected despite having to be physically apart for the time being. And one way to stay connected is sharing with each other things that interest us. So tonight, our EBC friend Gillian Andrade will show us how to make these mouth-watering garlic naan. Take a look.
Today I will be making garlic nuts. For your dry ingredients, you will need 2.5 cups of flour and 1 teaspoon of salt. For your wet ingredients, you will need 1 cup of warm water, 1.5 teaspoons of yeast, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. After mixing your dry ingredients, your wet mixture should look like this, a bit more foamy and bubbly. Now combine your wet and dry ingredients and mix with a spoon until it comes together into a dough. Make sure to mix this dough until all the flour in the bowl is fully incorporated. Once combined, flour a clean work surface that you may knead your dough on. Make sure to evenly spread out the flour. After flouring your surface, place your dough onto the floured surface and get ready to start kneading the dough. First, Flour your hands so that the dough does not stick to your hands while you're kneading. To knead, press down on the dough and fold it over, and do this in repetitive motions. Place your dough into a floured bowl and cover with a wet towel, allowing it to rise for 30 minutes. After allowing your dough to rise, place your dough back onto your floured surface and flour a knife in order to start cutting your dough into pieces. So I cut my dough into 32 pieces by cutting the dough in half, cutting those halves in half, making them fourths, cutting the fourths in half, making them sixteenths, and cutting the sixteenths in half, making them 32 small pieces. After cutting your dough into pieces, set those aside and allow them to rest for an additional 5 to 6 minutes in order for them not to rise while you're shaping them. While your dough rests, preheat your oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit. To make the garlic knot shape, stretch out a piece of dough into a long strand of dough. After doing so, wrap it around 2 fingers and tuck the ends underneath the bottom of the dough. Once the dough has finished rising, go ahead and start shaping your dough into different shapes. You can get creative, like doing a dough ball if you really wanted to, or you can do different shapes like stars or pretzels, hearts, circles. Once you're done, place your dough shapes into the preheated oven and allow that to bake for 20 to 25 minutes, or you can keep an eye on it and allow it to bake until it's golden brown. For the garlic butter, you'll need 1 teaspoon of salt, 5 tablespoons of butter, and 4 cloves of garlic. Once your butter is fully melted, add in your garlic and your salt. For me, I chose to use garlic salt instead. As soon as your bread comes out of the oven, brush your garlic butter onto the tops of the bread to get that garlicky flavor. You can do 2 layers of this butter if you'd like to get that extra garlicky flavor. This is optional, but you can top it off with a bit of Parmesan cheese. From Santa Clarita, California, I'm Gillian Andrade. We live in interesting times.
Thank you so much, Gillian. Those garlic knots look delicious. Now, a few reminders before we end today. Wash your hands often with soap and water. Cover your mouth and nose when sneezing or coughing. Avoid touching your eyes, your nose, your mouth. Avoid contact with sick people. If you're sick, stay home and call your healthcare provider. Practice social distancing. Keep distance between yourself and others and avoid crowds. And also do what you need to do to boost your immune system to help fight this pandemic, this coronavirus COVID-19. It's our enemy, not each other. So a round of applause for all our frontline and essential workers. So thanks for applauding with me. That is today's EBC International coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 North America edition. I'm Frenzell Feherin. We live in interesting times.